Someone who goes along to Symposium every year is Nick Sheard. He's the Executive Chairman of Carpentaria Exploration Limited. Now, we often talk to Nick about the kinds of holes he's drilling and what he's finding. More recently, however, we've been talking about things that have been going on in his boardroom. There's another request by shareholder Silvergate for another general meeting. This time they want to get rid of more of the directors, including Nick Sheard himself. So when I spoke to him, I asked him, did he feel like he'd got a target on his head?
One of our shareholders, Silvergate, has made a requisition for another meeting to basically spill the board. Unfortunately, we don't have any notice from them as to why this is happening. They're supposed to send us what they call a member's statement. That hasn't been issued yet, so we don't really know the rationale at this point in time.
So what impact does this have on your ongoing work?
Well, as you could imagine, it's a jolly nuisance. It's sort of obviously costs us time and money, so the opportunity time is lost, and we also have to spend money on legals and other such things, like the share registry, etc. So it really is an opportunity, time lost and cost.
Do you know anything about the directors that they're proposing?
Yes. One of them, Mr. Wilson Chung, he's actually effectively the owner of Silvergate. He owns all the shares in that. And he's a Chinese, Hong Kong resident. He's also chairman of a Hong Kong company called Beijing Resources. The other chap, Eric Walsh, is actually a Canberra lobbyist who has as his client, one of their clients is ASI, Ample Source International, which is owned by Wilson Chung. So there's a real tie-up there at that sort of work level anyhow.
Okay, you've got to assume that all this interest is being expressed because you have something worth buying into. As far as Braemar Iron Province is concerned, you are expanding again. What do you see as being so positive?
Yes, I think without a doubt, and this is what I hope our shareholders and particularly people of Broken Hill realise, that it's the Horson's asset is bringing out these people to try and get into it. So it does show that the asset is valuable to other people and that people want to get into it. Now, we see the Braemar Iron Formation as one of the emerging iron provinces of Australia, if not the world, I should say. And we've been trying to put our foot on other parts of the Braemar. About 3 years ago, we actually tied up a little bit right at the far western end of Peterborough Way, and we did a joint venture with this company, BMG, the company that's currently in liquidation. They were supposed to spend a fair bit of money on that to earn interest. Well, they didn't spend it, so in the particular time frame that we required, so we've taken that tenement back. And that is also why you may recall we did a joint venture. We're calling it the Braemar joint venture because the actual Braemar homestead is right in the middle of the tenement. So we did this joint venture with Mr. Morrison, and we're hoping that the South Dam exploration license, which is to the south, that would come back, and it has. So now we've got quite a large holding at the tail end of the Braemar Formation too.
Now, okay, talking about the technicalities of it, we last talked about some of the work you were doing in experimental drilling. There's an expression here called the true thickness of iron. What does that mean?
It's a geological expression that generally used that if rocks are dipping at a certain angle, we generally sometimes drill at 60 degrees, or let's say vertical in this case. If we drill a vertical hole and the rocks are dipping at, say, 45 degrees to that, you'll get a very large thickness of material because you're going across the dip of the rock. And so what you've got to do is then work out what the rock is dipping, your angle of your hole, and then you can work out the true thickness. So that would be if this formation was purely vertical, what would be the thickness across the top? Or it's probably easy to think if it was totally horizontal and flat, what would be the thickness of that unit? And so it's just and that from that is what you can get your the size of the body, etc. Once you know the true thicknesses and the extent.
So how does that compare to what you've discovered elsewhere along the Braemar?
The true thickness of about 150 metres in our current hole on the Braemar is quite good. It's actually quite a thick one, but at Horsens, for example, it's more like 300 metres. So the Horsens is that's why it's a degree bigger than these other ones, because it's very thick formation at that particular point.
Okay, so we've got a good prospect there. We have some interest. What about the price? That's been bouncing around recently. Last time we spoke, it had been sort of up and down. Are you confident that will bring people to the table as well?
Yes, I think the current price is obviously pretty nice. And yes, I think people are realising that iron will stay up in that order between 120, 170. And so that will bring people to the table because our project is very profitable at that price. I also think, although it just seems to be going counterintuitive at the moment, but also convinced that the Australian dollar will come back sometime in the not too distant future. It might be 6 to 12 months. And when that pegs back, it's going to make these projects a lot better too, a lot more profitable.
So is there anything else in the way of activities around the Broken Hill region coming up?
We've got to get over this requisition of meeting, or this new meeting first, but we are still working away on a scoping study on the tungsten projects at Yanco Glenway, and we're crunching those numbers up, and we are waiting some assays back to determine how good the concentrate grade is, so that's in the plan. We won't be doing any drilling until we get all this rubbish out the way.
And other than that, you're still feeling positive?
Yes, I just hope there's no fatigue in our shareholders, because they're the ones who have to vote one way or the other. And having these general meetings every 2 months isn't helping very much, really.
The Executive Chairman of Carpentaria Exploration